Hi, this is Priya from Madhura Vogue, and today I'm super excited and stoked because I am interviewing Annie. Thank you, Annie. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Annie, you're a jock, you're a mom, you are doing a lot of interesting things on your social media. Energy कहाँ से आती है?
Well, I think energy is something that you have to bring for yourself because you've got so many roles to play, like you said. And then you also have to set an example. So I'm not looking at it as a pressure, but I think you do have the onus of, setting an example because you've got so many roles to play.
Sure.
Somewhere it comes organically, and I'm glad it does. I'm not sitting back saying that, oh, you know what, I've done everything. I've been there, done that, so I'm not going to continue doing it. I think I'm going with the flow. I like that.
So when did this all start? When did it was like, hey, I want to become this job, or I want to do a show of my own? When was that thing?
So this is the 90s I'm talking about, late 90s, back in college when the senior RJ is Rishi K, who is the morning jockey. He's way my senior. He was on stage, Sid Kannan was on stage, everybody was on stage, and that was the time I think I realized, oh my god, this is something very interesting I can do, because I used to do a lot of extracurricular activities back at home and otherwise, even in college and church and stuff like that. But being on stage as a radio jockey or being on radio was something I think first took its seed in my head then. And then I did go on to win the radio midday college radio championship.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think
I stood second. No, I didn't win, but I stood second, but they took note of me. It was a lot of fun. And well, it didn't happen so easily. Nevertheless, it also happened in a very interesting manner. I was doing live shows back for the Times of India. This was Planet M. And that's when Tariq Ansari, the owner of Radio Midday, spotted me and said, why don't you come and try out?
Yeah, wow.
I did, and it worked.
That's amazing.
So,
who knew
dream
from
come true.
Planet M to radio jockey for one of the leading stations, not just Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore. You're like
It's a
leading
straight
all
out of a
three.
book story. And I like that about my career, about my life in general.
So I think it was all planned in a way that you could.
Destiny had it for me, all planned.
So being a jock, there are a lot of amazing experiences that you end up having. You like meeting interesting people, interesting sellers. Is there any fun moment on air that happened that made you feel, okay, I'm arrived now, I'm that jock that everybody's listening and I have that power, man?
This was when I was doing this interview where I came up with the idea that I wanted to blend in Western music with Indian music. I had Aman and Ayan Ali Bangash, both the brothers, come in, and they were carrying their instrument. Okay, and since they were carrying the sarod, I said, maybe I should do something with this. And it was the first ever time on radio that they were carrying an instrument and coming into the studios. So I planned it. I had another Indian classical singer join me, and a Western classical, which is a pop singer, join me. Her name is Suzanne de Mello, and the Indian classical singer, who's also now a Baul singer, is Uttara. They both came in and I kind of jammed on air live. It was, I think, the best experience ever, and I thought, okay, I have the power, I have the control to bring something so new to the audience that it was a splendid experience. Both the brothers were like, wow. They played Tears in Heaven on the instrument. Yeah, and Suzanne was singing to it. And then, of course, Uttara also joined in and did a little bit of an Indian song that she joined in and did. It was brilliant.
That's amazing, and I'm sure it's starting a new trend on radio.
Totally.
With nowadays, it's like we.
It was the first. It was the first on radio. It's amazing.
That's crazy. So music plays a lot importance in your shows and any radio shows, but when it comes to your segment, you've been like leading the lifestyle segment. I mean, that I used to work with you, I used to love your time and the associations we had back then, because there were food. There was travel, then we were doing a lot of fashion, and then exercise, yoga. I don't know, name it, and we
I still continue doing all of that. So I think what's very important to do on radio, and I think this is important for all of us, is to do something that is relevant. And I think this is very relevant because when we're talking about relevance, we're talking about what is current, we're talking about what is going to change the mindset of people, and we're talking about what is the requirement of a time where we've gone through the COVID, and way before pandemic, I've started talking about fitness, about wellness, about health with Lou Putino, and with so many other people, Nawaz Modi Singhania, and a ton of other people who've been on the show, Pooja Makhija as a nutritionist, and so
Your roster
ton
was
of
full.
it was full. And I'm very glad it continues to be.
Nice.
So I think bringing that on board was very important because not other radio stations were doing that.
Yeah.
It was very centered around music or the film industry.
Yeah.
But I think I brought in a mix of both the film industry as well as what's relevant today. These days, what I'm really chuffed about is the sustainability segment that I do also, because that's something that everybody needs to keep talking about at a dinner table, have conversations around that, become conscious about the way they live and the choices they make. So yeah.
Yeah, and I've always had start a new trend on air,
Yeah.
be it consciously or getting own chefs,
Yes.
on your shows. I
The
remember.
home chef competition we did was amazing. Do you know the first home chef competition we did with the judge was Chef Ajay Chopra? He's the winner of that contest, Saurabh. Today, he did not do, or he did not rather follow his passion because his parents weren't very happy with the choice of profession, although his passion area was cooking. And he was running a startup.
Okay.
After he won this title, he shut his startup, went into another startup, started his own restaurant.
Wow.
Because it was like a validation for even his parents that, okay, he can do this.
Yeah.
And today he's in Canada, sous chef, I believe, at a very prominent place. So we made dreams come true.
Seriously, I mean,
Yeah.
for so many chefs, and
Yeah.
this is a great platform to have, and not just for chefs, but even other, upcoming dietitians, upcoming health people.
Yeah.
I mean, the variety you bring in your lifestyle segment is amazing, Annie. And then you've been doing it for so many years, and then
10 years and counting. Which is at a stretch, otherwise more than 15 to 16 years in the industry.
Nice. Is there any incidents you remember where you were like struck when you got inspired by one of your speakers on your show,
Oh, you know what, I must admit, honest confession, I get inspired by everyone who comes on board because that's, I think, the point of inviting these guests on board. A, I am inspired first, and then B, I want my listeners also to be inspired. So I have my listeners also writing into me and saying that, hey, really like listening to you. There are some really nice things you speak about, and also the music is good. That's of course Kobad. But it comes down to what you are going to be inspired by. Only then will you be able to make a conversation that will then inspire the general janta. That's something that I always look forward to. So if one particular person, not really, but I do look up to someone called as Upasana Makati. She came up with something called as the White Print. Now it is India's first Braille lifestyle magazine.
Wow.
Nobody ever thought of this. It's not like she had someone in the family. No. She just came up with this idea. She saw that there's such a huge gap. Nobody thinks about the disabled people or people who are in a space that need so much of inclusivity. They're kind of discarded, literally. Not even excluded, just discarded. Nobody thinks about them. Whether it is the corporate setup or whether it is the personal setup, or how many people do you see in parks who are in wheelchairs or who are blind or who are deaf and mute and anything like that. And we have plenty. We have in millions. She came up with this idea and she runs it, and she's been running it for close to 10 years now. She's been on the Forbes 30 under 30. She's won many awards, the President's Award also. So that's something that really inspired me. Like I said, everyone, but she definitely stands out.
That's amazing. I mean, I just got to know about this, and that's the level of
commitment.
You need
and service to people. Service to come up with an idea that will fill the gap, and a gap that is so much there, but you choose to ignore it.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm glad that you found her and you've been talking about this and inspired from her. That's great.